The predictions about the catastrophe.
As another therapy for Ebola is already being tested on Americans with COVID-19, but it's still unclear when any of these treatments will be widely available.
The State Department raised the travel advisory to the highest level, level 4 in its office.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, the government's top expert on infectious diseases.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dave with Marketing Ideas for Printers, along with Mike Jensen from Tri-M Graphics. And our apologies for the late start. We, for one of the first times I think that we've had in this webinar series, we actually ran into some technical difficulties. So we're going to bring Mike in, but we lost his audio here, and we're going to do our best to bring him in using my phone and to bring him in that way. And Mike, let's just do a quick check. Are you with us on the phone via the webinar? And maybe I'll even take a little bit of the lead, knowing that what we talked about ahead of time to help bridge the gap there. But we'll take care of some of that preliminary information while you dial in. So for our attendees, thank you again for joining us today. And we've navigated uncertain times before. We're doing it with technology today, so bear with us for a little bit longer. Well, we'll see if we can get that dialed in here. And we do have Mike, as I mentioned. Mike Jensen is back with us for his second time in the webinar. And Mike's first visit is way back there in episode 6. And I'm going to coronavirus resources for printers.com. And Mike is on episode 6, where he shared an idea to help the community. That was his business reference guide. And so you can go back and take a look at that. We have the links there. I'd encourage you to do so. Mike is doing a really great job, and his whole community really is doing a great job just pulling together to get through coronavirus. And it even shows in one of the follow-ups. So you sent you sent a card to follow that up. And just one of the lines is just saying, I'm proud of our team and community, just thanking us for being able to share that story. He said, proud of our team and community. It's nice to be able to tell their story. And that really, I think, does a nice job of setting the stage for what we're going to talk about today. So, Mike, I do not see your audio on my side yet. Okay, we'll let you keep on dialing in there. While you're doing that, Mike and I were talking prior to the webinar starting, and you know, it seems like it takes a pretty big story to knock coronavirus into the #2 spot, and certainly the death of George Floyd and all of the tension that surrounds that is that story. So I just think it'd be appropriate to mention that Mike is actually south of the Minneapolis area, about an hour south, and so you're going through a few challenges right now. And actually here in Fargo, some of the violence actually spilled over into Fargo last weekend too. And I really sincerely hope that all of you that are watching this webinar, whether it's live or by recording, that you're doing okay. You may be fighting 2 battles right now: coronavirus, which is one that we're all in together, and then of course just all the tension that goes around George Floyd. Well, that's more of a divisive battle, it seems, and I'm not going to at all turn this into a political statement at all. That's obviously not the purpose of this. But I do want to acknowledge that, and I do want to acknowledge that, Mike, you're actually very close to those trenches there too, and just want to encourage everybody, if you're fighting a couple of battles right now, boy, keep hanging in there, because we will get through this. Mike, let's see what we can do with the audio here. And again, I'm waiting to get some feedback from our audience. Mike, go ahead and just go ahead and give us a check here again.
Yeah, let's try this and see if this works. Part of what we want to talk about today is the program called Now Open. And it was an initiative that was driven from the Owatonna retail merchant deciding that they wanted to have some sort of a unified front where they shared a consistent message across the board with all of the businesses, so that as people were going to shop and going to start venturing back out, they would see some sort of symbol, some sort of icon that would let them know, you know, these businesses are taking it seriously. They're working hard to open things safely. And so from there came the whole concept of now open safe shop zones. And we, through, you know, working with the chamber, we actually ended up, this was nothing that we received any funds for per se. We actually did this gratis. We did a number of 9x12 posters that went into all of the businesses. We also worked with them and did table tents that they could put on their counters and registers. The other thing that is getting better now, but that was really difficult for people, was finding personal protective equipment, you know, masks and hand sanitizers and things like that. We were able to find a company out of Harmony, Minnesota, called Harmony Spirits. They're a small distillery. They actually were purchasing ethanol from an ethanol plant that's just a few miles away from us here and converting it to hand sanitizer. And so we purchased those jugs of it, and it's a very liquid hand sanitizer. And so you can put it in a pump and have it at your counters. And we actually did labeling so that even the containers had the branding on it of now open, as well as it's a liquid form. So we put it in spray bottles because you could spray the surfaces and wipe them down using that labeling as well for that. So we found lots of ways to continue to put that message in front of people, now open. You know, as any business that's participating in the program, they were given an instruction sheet with just some general guidelines in how to open your business. This is also referenced through our chamber website. Our chamber website has kind of become the hub for all things COVID as far as communication goes. And so we'll be able to access that there as an example. It was general guidelines. We didn't, on any of the posters or the signage that we were doing, didn't want to put anything specific because each business was different in how they were handling things. And we didn't know what was going to be changing. It seemed like things are continuing to change at such a pace that we didn't want to put something on that was going to be outdated. So we really just went with a fresh, now open, we're here, we're starting to move forward, and that's been really good.
And I know one of the questions I'd asked you, Mike, earlier as we were getting ready for this webinar, you'd sent this, given me this information, and it's been, boy, several weeks ago now, I suppose. And I know I'd asked you if it was still relevant, and you said it has. And can you just kind of share some, you already have shared some of those ways, how it's helped build the community, but if you would just kind of share how that's relevant.
It is relevant, especially in the state of Minnesota in particular. I know different states are opening at different paces and levels, but as of Monday, our barbershops and salons were just able to open for the first time. And I know that our restaurants can open for outdoor dining only and still takeout. But so things are still just continuing to ebb and flow and open. So this is still very relevant to people to be able to see this kind of branding and see this kind of recognition. One of the things that's fun with this too is, and I'm sure OTAN is not unique to other communities, but the number of people that have jumped on board to participate and to find ways to give into the program. I know like our newspaper is actually created a landing page that all of the businesses that are participating can go there, register their name, and they're running ads just with a listing of all of the businesses that are participating in the Now Open program at no charge. They're doing that gratis for folks to let people know businesses that are available for this program.
And one of the other things that, and maybe this is changing the topic a little bit, but one of the things that impressed me a lot too is just you know, how you're saying everything is coming together, the community is coming together, the chamber site that we have up here now, which, by the way, we'll include that link in the webinar follow-up here. But the other thing that really I thought was just really so neat is how you mentioned that in your community, the large industry is helping the small industry. And maybe if you can share that, that might give some ideas where other printers might be able to use that and help build a model like that.
That was another initiative that came kind of out of this. Once this got rolling and got some legs, there was a group of industry that came together and formed a group called Jumpstart Owatonna. And the purpose of that group is bringing larger corporations together as well as individuals to raise money and funds to be able to help some of the smaller businesses that were shut down for long periods of time, maybe don't have the capital and resources to keep going and would maybe be in jeopardy of closing, because our large industry fully understands that we need a diverse community of business within a community for it to be healthy and vital and moving forward. And so they get that. You know, even taking, for example, restaurants, they can open right now in the state of Minnesota for outdoor dining and takeout only. Well, many of them don't have outdoor seating, you know, chairs, tables, things that they can use, and they don't have the money or the resources to purchase them. So through some of these dollars, they can be, you know, granted some money to be able to purchase some tables to keep themselves going. That kind of an example of pulling together to make sure that we can keep our business community across the board thriving, strong as possible. I think, you know, one of the things, Dave, you and I talked about through this whole process is how do we partner together? How do we build relationships? How do we work together so that at the end, when we get to the backside of all of this, we're that much stronger, that much healthier, that much, you know, better, if at all possible.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes creative solutions, and that's my not so subtle way to bridge the gap to one of the kind of the thing that that you brought right in the end. Said if there's enough time, we should talk about this. I'd like to talk about that one, and let me stop sharing the web page so that gives us a little more screen real estate, because this is really a neat thing here. So Mike, go ahead and share that one other item.
I have a client who's out of California, and he's actually in the food service industry. We do a lot of printing for him in the food service world. But as anybody knows, food service isn't a strong community healthy area. And he had this brainchild of coming up with some sort of a shield to protect your mouth and face while getting your hair cut at salons and barbers and all of that open. And so he had the concept, but we helped work with him to create actual shields that are die cut with, you know, the tab seals, and you would put it over top of, and you'd peel the seals, and then it would sit right on your face. It would just stay right there as the client in the chair to protect you in that process. Then you don't have anything going over your ears. As you can see, my hair is really long right now. I need to get to the barber, but we haven't been able to do that in Minnesota up until just this week. So, you know, that's another way to get creative. And I mean, they're doing them in all different kinds of things, from, you know, flags to, you know, camouflage. We do straight colors. And so he's actually been selling them nationally to salons across the country as a creative way to, you know, come up with a solution. And I think one of the things, Dave, you and I talked about is looking around in our community, in our experiences, where are their needs? Where are there things that we can maybe help come up with ideas to fill the gap, to, you know, make things possible, get creative. And that was one that we were able to partner with a client of ours and help him during this time come up with a product. And we're actually doing all the die cutting, assembly, and the shipping of them for him, for his company when he gets orders. So we do the full service on that. So that works out really well for him.
So not your typical printing job, and I think that's the takeaway is, you know, it's when it's not business as usual, there are still opportunities in those unusual places, and I think that's just a great way of doing it.
That's long term.
Yeah, and
because I think some of this is going to be around for a while. So as much as we can be prepared and ready to help with that, that's a wise thing to do.
Yeah. Well, and we got off to a little bit of a rockier start with the technical difficulties, but we still got a lot of good information here. And maybe one thing I want to make sure that we can help bridge this gap here too, and we'll make sure to include the link to this webpage. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about what was it? I'm sorry, I just forgot the name. Safe Shop Zone. Did I say it right?
Yeah. Now open Safe Shop Zone.
Yep. So if we want to find a little bit more about that, we'll get this link as a follow-up on the webinar. It's owatonalive.com/straight-talk.html. But again, we'll get that link up there. Go ahead and look for that May 19th episode, and you can help me out here, but I've got it around that 12-minute mark, a little past 12 minutes mark. Is that the right place to go?
That sounds right. There were 2 sessions, and we were the second session.
All right.
Where they videoed and talked through the whole program as well.
Yeah, so I remember watching that when you first told me about it, and lots of good information. You can get the same takeaways or more of the takeaways, I guess, to follow up on the things that we talked about here. So I congratulate you, Mike, and your community in the way that you are finding ways to keep coming together. And boy, I just really do appreciate you coming together here again for the second time. That's a big deal. And even though that there's a lot of printers, I really sense that there's a lot of printers kind of starting to pour some gas in the tank and rev their engines, that we're really getting ready to kind of get things going again. But there's still a lot to do. And this is absolutely part of that. So I think that's where we'll wrap it up today. We've got a lot of the resources. Mike, appreciate you joining with me on this, and we'll go ahead and get the exit video queued up, which also means that this is my time to remind you that that there's a survey to follow here. So please stick around for that survey. It takes just a couple of moments. A teaser for a week from today. If you participated in the PPP program, we're getting to that point where there's information coming about some of the forgiveness parts of that, converting that loan into a grant. And Joanna, she's on our team here at Marketing Ideas for Printers and handles everything related to the numbers. She's been doing a lot of homework with that. She's going to be with us a week from today to give us some of that latest information about that program. So I invite you back for a week from today. And if you're a Marketing Ideas for Printers subscriber, come back on Thursday. That's where we've shifted the focus to focus a little bit more on the services that we're offering and how to use those to best move you forward, not only during coronavirus season, but also in general. So that's where we're at. Appreciate you all for sticking around on today's webinar. I'll go ahead and wrap it up now. Stick around for the survey, and we'll see you again soon.